That's an old 80s song from a band called Cinderella. You don't know what you've got until it's gone. Big Danish banks have said to Moody's rating agency, "You're fired," citing volatile views. Denmark's biggest banks, this is by Bloomberg by the way, Denmark's biggest banks are firing Moody's Investors Service as they win assurances from some of the country's biggest investors that the opinions of the rating agencies hold limited value. So it's the investors that have their money in the banks over there in Denmark saying, rating agency? Who needs a rating agency? We want to make money. We don't care if you cook your books. We don't care if you fake the numbers. We don't care. Just make us more money. Give us some more profit. So if you guys need to fire Moody's or anybody else, any other rating agency, go ahead and do it. Because investors say, hey, we want to make money. We don't have time for a recession. We don't care. We don't care if there's risk or not. Just make us some freaking money. Just what? Don't waste my time with all that nonsense. Just give me the hard numbers. What kind of numbers can we get a return on? That sounds good. Go with it. Doesn't matter if the results are catastrophic or the problem is catastrophic. Right now, what rates can we get if we just forget the rating agencies? What return, interest rates, can you give us as investors to your bank? Great. Just go with it. That's what the investors are saying. Well, when they use the word investors, they're not talking about the average person who used a company through their 401k or whatever it is to invest their money. When they say investors basically tell us go ahead and fire Moody's, they're talking about that one company that handles, you know, $20 billion in client funds and this and that. It's that company that is going up to these banks in Denmark and saying, yeah, we don't care, just you know, keep this going. Number one, because if the rating agencies come out and say we're taking you down a notch or two, that's bad for investments. It's bad for the bank. We may not get the returns that we have been loving so much, and our clients may start pulling their money out, which means we, as that company that handles our clients' money, we won't be handling too much money, and our commissions, our fees, etc. that we charge to handle other people's money would start to go away, and we can't have that. So at any and all costs, we must keep the sheeple's money in our accounts at all times. I don't care what the problem is. I don't care what the forecast is, what the future looks like. Just keep that money in these accounts. And when you lose that client's money in those accounts, which will happen, because if a stock goes down to zero or almost zero and people finally pull out, you basically rape them of all their wealth, and they're going to be pissed off, and they're going to want to know, why would this company, whatever this investment company is called, why would you invest our money? You guys are supposed to be the experts. You're supposed to have your eye on the market at all times. Why did you not pull my money out? Now the investor's not going to tell them, well, the reason I didn't pull your money out, even though I saw this coming, we all did, and knew this would happen. The reason we don't take your money out and save your financial livelihood anyways, is because if we do that, we're shooting ourselves in the foot and then we go bankrupt. We don't want to go. We got jobs, we've got kids, we've got mouths to feed. And the investors are going to say, yeah, but there's like hundreds of thousands of us investing in your company. You've ruined hundreds of thousands of lives to save a couple dozen in your company. But those couple dozen in that company are looking at it like, hey, this is my life. I have a right to live, and I got to put food on the table. And they're going to argue that. But again, it's this mentality of, you know, this tiny few is owed something by the many. Many being, you know, in that case, you know, 100,000 or more or whatever, and people who are investing their money through your company, and your company doesn't have the balls to tell them, yes, pull your money out. I wouldn't dare have my money in this market right now. And you will find out that all those people that work at the investment company, if the data is available, and it should be, what they did with their money, their personal money that you've been making with this great salary of yours, investing other people's money. What have you been investing in? Oh, gold and silver or something else that didn't get affected by this. Oh, that's interesting. So you take our money, client money, invest it in something that's an epic fail, and you're supposed to be the expert. We're relying on you to be an expert. But what you did with your own money was not put it in your own system, basically your own company's, what they're investing in, such as these banks, and you put it in something else that was safer for you, and you didn't lose out nearly as bad, or maybe you even made out good when everyone else ends up failing. Now, that's just a scenario, by the way. That's not what this article says. I'm giving you the down low of how this is going to play out. So these banks over there in Denmark are saying, we don't like Moody's downgrading us. They took us down a notch, and quite frankly, we don't feel we deserved it. And Moodys said, well, wait a minute. For the last 200 years since you've been in existence, you used to give the standard 30-year mortgage for, regarding mortgages, and that's a hefty part of their portfolio, or not portfolio, but that's on the books. Mortgages is the number one, of all loans and things. Mortgages is like takes it all as far as pretty much most banks. But and another interesting thing is, like Bank of America, I tell you about my bank. Bank of America, BAC Home Loans LLC, blah blah blah. Right? Those little letters they would send. It's not Bank of America. It's subsidiary. So if they ever go bankrupt, sorry about your luck or whatever. If you found them doing mortgage fraud and try to get your money back, they could just file bankruptcy, have a nice day. And it's not actually Bank of America filing bankruptcy, it's the little subsidiary, which is a separate company. So like Bank of America and all the too big to fail banks, these banks over in Denmark also have the subsidiaries for the home loan department. Isn't that interesting? Why would they do that? If you guys are so sure the stuff you have is not garbage, like Moodys is basically saying it is, why do you have a separate entity, an LLC or whatever, another type of company that is a subsidiary of the main company? Why couldn't you just make the main company have a little division that sells, home mortgages? The company I work for, we have a service department, we have a support department, and we have a sales department, all under the same name. We don't have, where I work, Service LLC and Sales LLC and Support LLC and old Joe's IT department LLC. That way, if anything ever goes wrong, any of our guys do something wrong, we just go bankrupt on that little particular department. No, because we're a legitimate company. When you're not a legitimate company and you are illegitimate, that's what you do to cover all your bases, so that when any one of these things has trouble, you just let it fold, and it doesn't really do anything to the rest of your company because it just folds under an LLC name. Now, granted, if that particular subsidiary is strictly doing mortgages like Bank of America, BAC Loans, LLC, whatever it's called, was to go under, it would be pretty devastating, because that's all they deal with is massive, high-priced mortgages, because there's no other loans that they give out higher than a mortgage. So back to Denmark, they're saying, we don't think Moody's is making the right decision, therefore we are no longer using Moody's services. And all of the banks pay these rating agencies, by the way, pretty good sums of money. And I thought last year they were saying how either 2010 or 11, Moody's made either 2.3 or 3.2 billion dollars just off of these banks being their rating agencies. So now, from what I read, they're fixing to take a 30% or so haircut because they're getting canned by Denmark and maybe a few others in that area. So they're going to lose 33% of that income. Could you imagine if you're making $2 or $3 billion a year, you just lost a third because you're, quote, doing your job? Remember that old saying I've said? I never could figure out where this came from, the actual person, to give him proper credit. But it is hard for a man to tell the truth when his job depends upon him not telling the truth. And the prime example has just occurred. Moody's rating agency told the truth for once in advance, rather than let something fail and then come out and say, okay, well, because of that failure, we're now going to, lower your rating, your rating, like they've been doing. and waiting for it to be clear as day before they finally say, yeah, we're gonna have to knock your rating down. It's already obvious. You should have already seen the amount of debt some of these entities had, the type of assets they claimed. You would be able to see all of this. Yet you finally, you failed to do anything about it until it was too late. But at least they did do something, and now over in Denmark, they're seeing the writing on the wall. And back to what I was saying a minute ago, do you guys, 200 years ago, you were created, these banks over there, you used to give the standard 30-year typical mortgage. And then in 1997 and 2000 and 2003, whatever, you guys decided to start adding these adjustable rate mortgages. And then a few years later, you started to add these interest only. Gotta be my favorite. Just pay the interest payment. You'll never pay down your principal. You'll never get to own your home, but you don't need to own your home. Property values always go up. They don't go down. They always go up. And since the Great Depression in 1929, we haven't seen a decline in home prices. So, come on. This is a win-win situation. Well, yeah, you've got a good point. And because it's interest only, I could afford a little more house, bigger house, nicer area, which also means as these prices rise, I'll get more profit back when I go to sell it. And if I just live in here for maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years, depending on what the market does, I may get out earlier. Man, I can make a good chunk of change. Man, that sounds great. I'm going to sign up for a interest-only loan because the market only goes up. Only to find out, wrong, bad decision. Market went down, you're upside down. Could you imagine being upside down in your house and you have an interest-only loan? At least if you had a standard, typical 30-year, regular, whatever mortgage loan, and you were upside down, you could at least, and I still wouldn't do this, but you could at least say, well, in 30 years it'll be paid off. Even though my neighborhood's selling for half of what I owe on my house, I'm going to do the right thing and pay it off. In 30 years, I'll have it paid off. You could still say that, and you could still accomplish that. Granted, you don't lose your job, of course. But those who had an interest-only loan, you have interest only the rest of your life. And if the market never goes back to where it was, you're going to be paying a loan the rest of your life. So I'm just curious for all those people who always say, well, you need to do the right thing. You took out that loan. No one forced your hand to take that loan. What are you going to tell them? You're in debt to the bankers the rest of your life because they destroyed the housing market, but we didn't force your hand. No, but you promised us history that says housing prices continue to go up, and that was a lie. And not only was it a lie, after looking at these little investigations left and right, it appears that you guys knew it wasn't going to happen because you forced the prices to crash while you were pulling all your investor money in JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. Hey, investors, the housing market, we're going to invest in it. Come on, give us all the funds. Okay, here you go. And in the back corner, they're shorting the housing market, betting massively that the market's going to go down, while simultaneously telling their investors, the sheeple investors, we're betting on the markets to go up. Can't lose. Look at the markets going up everywhere. And naturally, because life goes on as it does, if you were a bozo, not on your own will, not of your own free will bozo, but you became a bozo because you were forced into, well, I just married my wife, we have kids, time to move out, time to do the life thing, live the American dream. Well, the year's 2004, 2005, 2006. I got to live somewhere. I got to have a house. Just got a job. I can get qualified. This is great. I'm living the dream. You're not saying to yourself, prices are going to come down in a few years. Cut these prices in half plus. No, you're saying what everyone else, the experts, the mortgage experts, the finance experts, the banking experts, the news media, everywhere you look, housing prices are a phenomenal thing to invest in. Because of the prices are a phenomenal thing to invest in, you've got to get one now before the prices go too high, and there's no end in sight, apparently. Are you going to step aside from the whole entire society, the expert views, the banking views, the mainstream media news that says you better get in now, prices are going up, and you can physically see they're not lying, the prices are going up rapidly? You'd be a fool to say, hey, I'm not buying into this crap. I'm going to rent for 2 or 3 years because I think a crash is coming. And stand in the face of everybody in the world, you would be a conspiracy theorist idiot. But as most conspiracy theorist idiots, you would become right. Not right away, because right away you're still the idiot conspiracy theorist. But then after it takes place, then you become the guy that says, hey, I told you so. And by then, no one even cares. Oh, whatever. Everybody knows that. What do you mean everybody knows that? Yeah, everybody knows that. Look around you. Everyone's house is going down. Oh, wait a minute. But I said this 3 years ago, when housing prices were going up and people said I was an idiot for thinking that I was stupid. Don't you remember that? No, I don't remember that. I don't remember having that conversation with you. And you can see the disgust on their face because they're upside down in their house. They don't want to admit that they had that conversation with you, etc. And I'm not sitting here saying that I saw this coming. Because when this took place in 2004, 2005, and 2006, I just started doing research on stuff. I was nowhere near my timeline of getting into the, finance, mortgages, bank. I was nowhere near that. That was basically 2008 when I started kicking in with that. In finding things like the WebBot and other sources that called October and September, the crash, which happened. So I can't sit here and tell you I'm going to take credit for that because I was not studying that at the time. I had no idea. I would have been one of those people who recognized, oh, I need to get a house quickly. I bought my house in, was it 2003 or 2004? It was at the very beginning of that rise. And my house needed a roof, needed some carpet, needed a little, few things. So I was able to get a pretty decent deal on it, as a matter of fact. Yeah, so we jumped on that deal. And long story short, I didn't get raped like that. So at the same time, they still pulled that crap on me like they pull on everybody else, where we're selling your mortgage to someone else, we're bundling it, please make your payment to this guy. A month or two later, we're selling your mortgage note now to this guy, please start making your payment to them. And then it was Countrywide. And then after Countrywide's Bank of America, I had this happen like 4 times. So naturally, I became that conspiracy theorist that stood in the face of everybody. I don't think you own my house, Bank of America. I don't think you're the proper note holder, nor do I think who you claim is the note holder that you're representing is the note holder. I'm going to do some research. I'm going to hire someone to help me. Oh, look at that. Appears the old conspiracy theorist, Joe, was right. You're not the owner. You're not the note holder. The people you claim you represent, who you won't even tell me who they are, that I have to sue you to find out who they are, they don't own it either. Because nobody signed off on the chain of title, the note properly, which means the last guy who signed off on it may be the lawful, rightful owner. And they just might be bankrupt. So now what? Technically to me, well, I guess my house is free. If they were bankrupt. I'm not saying they were. But in many cases they are. Certainly doesn't mean that Bank of America gets it. You guys failed to do this thing legally. You failed to sign it properly. No one knows who the technical real owner is. Sorry about your luck. I called them out on it. It's been 2 years now. 2 years. They haven't called me. They don't send me any kind of letter other than the standard million letters they send out to everybody. You're late on your payments. To avoid foreclosure and to avoid blah, 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 please contact a representative. I get that crap every few months or every 2 or 3 months, whatever it is. That's the typical robo computer printout auto mail system. I used to get phone calls until I called them out and said, are you taking notes? Yes, I am, sir. That's why I'm calling it. I've just got to update the notes. Because in other words, they're stressed out and they realize everybody they're calling to collect payment money from their mortgage is basically telling them I still can't make the payment and I don't know when I can. Sir, can you just give me an idea when you think you might be able to make the payment? You're taking notes, correct? Yes, sir. I've got to update these notes. Okay. Never. I'm never going to be making a payment. Never. Why is that? Because I did some research, hired a lawyer, did the research of the chain of title. There are massive holes. There's apparent fraud as well, and some forged documentation. That's why I'm not going to ever pay it, because my lawyer told me, as part of the investigation, we don't know who technically owns your house. From the looks of it, it can't be Bank of America, even though they're the last one that claim they are, because of the chain of title problems. Stop paying your mortgage immediately. Well, sir, if you want to know who owns it, you'll have to sue us. Yeah, listen, I'm not going to speed up that process to find out who owns the house. You should be doing that. You should let me know who owns the house. If you're taking my money to give to somebody, I need to make sure you're not keeping it for yourselves and claiming you're giving it to somebody because they went bankrupt or some other reason, and you're not really lawfully allowed to do that. I did the research. I found out there's these problems with you guys and me regarding my mortgage. That's why I'm not paying the mortgage. That's all I have to say. Okay, thank you, sir. I have never in 2 years received another phone call from Bank of America. If I'm wrong, why haven't I even got a freaking phone call? Why haven't they went forward with the foreclosure papers? Because I called them out. I became a conspiracy theorist to the system, went against the system, the Matrix, little Neo and Morpheus, my guy Morpheus, Pastor Dow, he's Morpheus, I'm Neo. And we're trying to unplug the sheeple. And as the Matrix says, Morpheus says to Neo, you're here to unplug these people from the Matrix, to wake them up, basically. But I gotta tell you something. They will fight you to stay plugged in. And that's funny, because when I tell this story to a lot of people, well, you took that, I mean, you owe it to somebody. You need to make a payment to somebody. Come on. I mean, you should be, if it's Bank of America, you should be paying. You should be doing the right thing. So you're actually fighting me to stay plugged in. I just showed you how I unplugged from the Matrix by not paying my mortgage because of the fraud and the issues I found with my paperwork, forged document, a lot of things, 3 things specifically. And I told you what I did. I haven't been contacted in 2 years, so if I'm wrong, why would they leave me alone when I called them out on this? Oh, well, you gotta owe it to somebody, and they don't want to hear it. Well, I'll tell you what, you stupid sheep, stay plugged into the Matrix. And for all you investors that trust in these little companies that invest your money, your life savings, your 401ks, and they want to invest it in a too big to fail, like the one in Denmark, several in Denmark, who's saying, well, we don't, you know, we're bigger than we were before, which is true. And so is JP Morgan and our banks over here on this side of the pond, because we bailed them out. So now they've got a bigger market share than they've ever had. But are they any more safe or secure? Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, they're 10 times worse. So because you guys are still dealing with toxic assets called these interest-only loans and adjustable rate mortgages, and, by the way, according to last month's data, the foreclosure rate over in Denmark has just jumped significantly. So you could see Moodys saying, hey, there's a problem here, and if the mortgage foreclosure rate just jumped massively last month alone, and they're to your bank specifically, we're raising a red flag. We don't see this going anywhere good. Assets you claim are assets, which are the houses, are going down in value still, and foreclosure rates are going up. That's like a head-on collision. It's not a collision where a car is going and hits something that's stationary. You have 2 things coming at each other. So if you're both going 30 mile an hour and you're only looking at the one, well, it's only 30 mile an hour. It's not that bad, which is what the banks want you to do, not look at both ends. They're both going 30, which is the same as a 60 mile an hour crash. That's what this is. You have foreclosures happening more than ever. Last month's data showing that it actually skyrocketed. And you have them claim, you know, the asset itself, the house, going down in value. That's what I'm talking about. That's the 30 mile an hour on each end in my little example. And they're trying to pretend that there's not even any issue. The mortgages aren't an issue. The housing prices aren't an issue. Everything's fine. Moodys is saying, look, come on. We've been pulling everyone's leg for a long time now. We can't do it this time. So what does the bank say? We're firing you as a rating agency. And one of the investors, they had to have in the article too, to back up the bank, of course. You don't think there's a little payoff going on there, do you? We trust this bank. We don't care about Moodys either. This bank is solid. We're going to continue investing in it. The light turns red. You know what? It's 5 o'clock rush hour. Light just turned red in front of me. I've got faith. The light is Moodys, rating agencies. The banks is the cars and traffic everywhere. I've got faith in the banks, the cars and traffic. That light just turned red, which is Moodys giving me the signal, hey, we're downgrading this intersection. Red light, stop. I don't trust that red light. That red light is garbage to me. I need to get to my house in a hurry because I got to watch a TV show that I can't wait to get home to. I'm going through the light. Go ahead. At rush hour traffic, you just got smashed and caused an accident. Who are you going to say? You're going to look up at the red light? You son of a... You lied to... Oh, no, it was red. Didn't lie to you. Told you the truth. So you can only stand there and look at yourself. So the only person standing there looking at themselves is going to be the companies that invest in these banks. And they're going to drag along the people, the sheeple, who trusted in that investment company to invest in the bank. So now when you know why the investment companies, the bankers, all these people in between, you wake up one day and breaking news, guy jumped out of the side of a building and killed himself. What do you mean he killed himself? He made millions of dollars a year, bonuses. Why did he kill himself? He's a guy I never even heard of. He ran some investment company. I never even really heard of it. Never made it in the news. Why did he kill himself? Because he just realized the people are going to kill him and his family probably because of what he did to their money. So either he feels so guilty he has to kill himself, or he realizes, I don't want them killing me and my family. I'll just kill myself so that they can get some satisfaction out of seeing me dead. Leave my family alone. There's only really two choices in my mind when this kind of thing happens. And that's it. So that's all I got for you. I got to go. Take care.